Morning. Today is a very rainy day. I come here now today. I'm cutting some of the mulberry limbs off the tree because I'm going to visit the farm this morning and feed them. So this is the president of the Small Ruminants Association, TrevorBernard, and I have some interesting things to share with you today. I'm going to be focusing on the milk side of goat, and I'm also going to be doing a comparison with the cow. Also, some of this information that you see here is based on my opinion and what I have seen over the years. At the end of this video, you'll come to realize how productive goats can be at milk production. We have seen in the last video how productive they are in producing meat, and now we are looking at the milk side of things. Let us take a look at all of this. I also don't think that the dairy board in Jamaica is aware of how productive goat can be in producing milk. And also, we have to also look at the fact that numbers, the multiplying effect of goats, and what can happen if we were ever to look at goat in a serious way. Let us look at goat milk production. From our last video, I showed by weight what one cow can produce. We're looking at a cow 800 to 1200 pounds. And a unit of goat, which is 8 goats, in comparison by weight, 8 goats, approximate weight of 1,040 pounds, if the average weight of a goat is 130 pounds. So let's just look at this comparison and milk production. In Jamaica, the average yield of milk in between 1980 to 1990 was about 40 million liters of milk was being produced in Jamaica at that time. Now looking forward in 2010, 2020, the average yield of milk produced in Jamaica is 13 million liters of milk per year. And this is, basically based on cows. We are only producing 20% of the milk. 20% milk is being supplied for the domestic use in Jamaica, 20%. Now, let us look at what you need to do when you're rearing goat for milk production or any animal. You need excellent nutrition. You have to make sure you feed and take care of these animals very well. So you need an average of 5 to 7 pounds of dry matter intake on a daily basis. Example, hay, grass, forages, and so forth. You also need to provide them with clean drinking water, like 2 to 4 liters of water per day, and make sure that the water is always clean. You also will require a pound or 2 of pellet feed, such as, some high energy feed. But I'll also caution you that if you're using high production, high protein plants, like for example, the mulberry, you really don't need pellets in your diet as long as you have these tree plants type of, food in the diet. You also need a free mineral choice because, as you know, we have some of the forages in Jamaica have low, minerals in them. Some of the forages are not that good. So, the mineral will help in those kind of things. You also have to have a stress-free environment, meaning that you have to have, a comfortable environment. As I've spoken about in the last video, you have to make sure that, urine smell is not there, it's clean, you have fresh air, you have, preferably a slatted floor plan, dry floor and so forth, and make the animals very comfortable. Now, when you're doing this milking process, one of the things is that you have to do the Famantra score, and you need a Famantra score of 3 or better. If you don't do that, if you have an animal that has less than 3, this animal will not be a good producer. And more than likely you're going to have to, probably the animal might need worming or might need that kind of thing. And you cannot milk and use that milk for human consumption when you are doing that. So here is the Famantra score. This is just an example just to share with you, how you can look at the eyelids and see, what kind of condition or what kind of parasite burden that your animals have. And this is a good thing that you can look it up and read it up and check your animals and see where they fall in terms of upgrading your animal health and the parasite. I also am a firm believer now that when you're milking the goats and you're going to be using the milk for human consumption, I believe that we should share the milk. So you can share the milk between the kids and, you know, for human consumption. Now, how that is usually done? Usually you lock away the kids for, say, 12 hours, usually maybe at night. You lock them away for 12 hours away from the mother. She has time now to produce this milk, and then you milk her probably in the morning, and then you reunite the kids with the mother, and they will feed on the mother for the rest of the day. Now, so for the first 5 months of the kid's life, it is very important that their nutrition is well taken care of. During these first times, you know, you don't want the animals to get sick, or you have to be medicating them and so forth. And now that you're sharing the milk, it is very important also that you have a creep feeder facility. Now, with a creep feeder, something similar to this, the kids will have access to feed, like pellet feed, and you must make sure you have grass and forages there. They'll start pecking at it from a very young age, and usually even with the pellets, they will move to the pellets very, very early, and this helps them to wean off the mother very quickly. Usually you can continue milking the animals for, you know, usually 300 days or so forth, you can continue milking the mother. Now, when you are doing the milking parlor, a milking parlor usually require maybe, you need to be milking 2 animals at a time, and you know, for speed, it matters to the quantity or how much animals you are milking, but maybe 2 animals at a time, 2 persons holding the animal, 2 persons milking the animals. And you also have to have a feeder in front of the goats, so that while you're milking them, they are eating. Now, this is an example of what that looks like when you're manually milking. You know, there's the lady, she's milking the goats, and the goats are now eating from this feeder and distracted. That puts the goat in a comfortable position, and she will let down the milk, and milking will be very easy. And you'll get high yield and high production when you do things like this. Now, let's look at the cow. On average in Jamaica, 1 cow produces on average 7 liters of milk a day. While, so 2 cows, you know, we're looking at over a 2-year period here, you know, we're having 14 liters of milk per day. So over a 2-year period, you can do the calculations and see how much milk you produce over 2 years. While the goat, we're using a goat that producing, say, 1 to 3 liters of milk per day. And I must tell you that, you know, I have seen native goats producing 2 liters of milk. I have seen Nubians and you know, other breeds, Alpine and so forth. Even some graded animals produce quite a bit of milk. So you can see an average of 1 to 3 liters of milk per day from goat. So if your production is, you know, as in our previous videos, we showed you that, you know, you can get 40 females over a 2-year period, while a cow is only 2 cows you're going to produce. Can you imagine if you're milking 40 females every day and they're producing just 1 liter of milk? We're just taking 1 liter from each goat. You could attain 40 liters of milk per day while they are feeding the kids. And the cows are producing 4 liters of milk per day and probably not feeding the calves. So this is how good goats are in producing milk. And remember that goat milk is also very, very nutritious. Now, the yield from goat, therefore, as we are saying, is much better than cow. It is a far less expensive to produce milk from goat than from cow, because their conversion rate is better. They convert food to milk much better. And also, even in terms of both milk and meat production, goat is more efficient with the feed. And with those efficiencies of production, you can just imagine the savings that you are going to have. Even from the perspective of even the waste management, it is easier to manage the waste, because you know the goat is just pellets and the urine. You can just sweep it up, or you can have your drop through flooring, or you know, slotted flooring and so forth. Cattle waste is very difficult to handle. So goat
It's easier to manage their waste. They require also less expensive housing. The facility is much simpler and much easier to maintain and easier to build. Cattle facilities are expensive. Can you imagine the expenses you have to go through to put in a cattle milking facility? It's very expensive. So therefore, if you can save money by doing these things, by doing goat and milking this goat, you can save money and put more money in your pocket. These are money makers, and milking can make a substantial amount of money. The key to success in milking is to be consistent. Now, one of the things is that when you're milking animals, you have to milk the same time every day, 7 days a week. You cannot stop, because if you stop milking, the animal milk yield will cut down and you can't ramp it up back when it cuts. So you have to be consistent. You have to feed the animals consistently all the time. If you feed them every morning at 8 o'clock, you have to do that every single day. If you have to make sure they have water at all times, because you know that the water is a part of the milk. And you have to make sure that, you sustain good forages, make sure that the forages that you feed them is consistent, because this will help your milk production. So it is so good to have presented this to you. I wanted to show you how productive our beloved goat is in both meat production and in milk production, and it makes sense. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. I am very happy to have brought this to you, and I want you to go ahead and try to market yourself and grow our goat milk industry. Thank you so much for watching.